Why you must understand your mother tongue, part 1. In other words, why you must understand your native language, part 1. Yes, everyone needs to understand his or her native language. It's our right because God has given it to us. So you need to understand. When you do not understand, you make effort to understand. But before I start giving those reasons, please, whenever you meet this video, help me to share. It will let it get to the next person. Okay. Now, language generally, languages are instruments of unity and power. Instrument of unity and power. If you read Genesis chapter 11, starting from verse 4, that place where those people wanted to build a tower that will touch heaven. God see that, man, if I leave these people alone, this tower will touch heaven. And he says there is nothing they would put their hands to do which they cannot do because they are united. So they were speaking with one language. That was the very beginning of multiplicity of languages in the world today, because God calls them to speak different languages. Now, your own language is part of those languages that fell out of that action. You understand that? So you necessarily need to speak your language because it is an instrument of unity and power. Secondly, when the colonial master came, they introduced their language. The colonial master introduced his own language such that we we at that time we abandon our language. Gradually we began to learn our foreign language. Of course, it is the language they used to teach us in school, talk of English language, talk of French and all that. We paid, back and front to learn a foreign language at the expense of our language. So language was very, very important because the more you accept that language, the more you come closer to those people and the more you go farther away from your own culture. So language is the instrument to pass tradition, to pass culture. So if you are not in touch with your own language, you will never be in touch with your culture and tradition. So like in one of my students called Mario, I asked him, what do you want to learn a second language? He said because he want to be able to learn the language and pass it to the next generation. Perfect. Now, number 3 reason you need to learn and speak your language. Language is an integral part of our culture. Culture generally is a way of life of people. Language is part of it. Food, cultural, social cultural activities, dressing, then occupation. All of these are aspects of culture. So language is one of the most important aspects of it. So throwing the language away, you may lose connection with the others. So you really need to understand your language so that you keep your culture together. Language is what helps you to document your culture, to keep your culture, to practice, to understand your culture so in-depthly. So wherever you are, you need to keep in touch with your language. Number 4 or number 5, language, your own language, your mother tongue, your native language is God's given language to you. It is the primary language God gave to you. Because God didn't just create you, send you to the world without a language. He gave you a language. And your mother tongue is the first language He gave you. In most cases, we don't need to go to school to learn our mother tongue. We learn it by default, by virtue of the people, the environment. We hear the language and all that. So when we go to school, we pay, we learn other culture, we forget about our language. There's something we are missing. We are losing. We are losing. I mean, we are losing. We are. There's something we are throwing away about ourselves. What God has given us, we are throwing it away. You can learn another language, but your own, take it along because it is God's giving. Others are secondary. Your own is primary. Okay. Number 6 on this part 1, your language is your identity. Your language is your color. Your native language is your pride. And of course, a man who is not proud of his color is not free to live. You must be proud of your color. Of course, I think almost every European country has its own language. The question is, why are they not speaking one language in Europe, in the continent of Europe? Why are they not speaking one language? Since they are all superior. Everyone sees his own as the best. So let me tell you that your language is the best language in the whole world. Your language is number one language that God created. In fact, all the languages, God created them at the same time. When they were speaking one language and He caused us to speak different language, all of these languages emerge, including your own language, including my own language, Itsako language. That was the day it started. Now, all this, you go to Germany, you're going to learn German language. You go to Italy, you're going to learn Italian language, Spain, Spanish language, France, French. Oh, measure it. Name them. So, this is why I'm encouraging you. You must learn your language. I asked Benjamin, one of my students in Poland, why do you want to learn Itako language? He said, because I want to be able to communicate with my parents and connect with my roots. I say, wonderful. I want to be able to, communicate with my parents and connect with my roots. I say, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And maybe say, I want to be able to, communicate with my people. So everyone, you hear all of their vision. I call them vision because I am teaching Itako language to my people all over the world, wherever they are, via technology, via online teaching. We are not leaving any stone unturned. We are learning the language. So wherever you are, no matter or whatever culture you come from, give it a point of duty to learn your language. It pains me to see both parents come from the same community or the same language and their children don't understand. It means there is no secret in that family. That family cannot discuss in presence of others without, in a very secretive way. So there must be secret. So make it a point of duty to give your children the opportunity to learn their mother tongue. It is very, very necessary. And again, we need to sustain some of these languages that are already going on extinction. Some are already endangered. Some have, gone into extinction. Some are on their way into extinction. So, Etu Eshemoha Mike, MMM. So you can find me on social media as Mickey Mouse Media.